Right, hello and welcome to another Typical Boro podcast. I'm your host, Steve Dixon. You can catch us on X, Blue Sky, Facebook, obviously YouTube. Please subscribe, leave comments, really important. You can watch us and then follow us on the Red Radio every Tuesday, 6 till 7. Mr. John Cutler, unfortunately, isn't with us again this week, but stepping in as a replacement, we have Mr. Simon Pobble. Welcome to the podcast, Simon. Simon, if you don't know, is part of Graham Bandira's Harrogate Hounds.
Come on.
You might have heard his dulcet tones on BBC Tees as a pundit on there. So I'll introduce Simon. Hi, Simon. You okay?
I'm great. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, thank you for having me along.
Absolute pleasure. And of course, I've just mentioned him. He's still here. The legend that is Mr. Graham Bandira.
Okay, ever present this season.
Got two happy faces on the screen because things have been going rather well for Planet Boro. Just the 6-2 win. I can see the beaming smiles there. So we're going to discuss that. So 3 wins in a row, 15 goals. Should we start getting the open top bus ready, boys? Is the promotion party starting to look good?
I'll tell you that after we played Burnley and Leeds.
Right, we'll come to that. We'll start off anyway with the Oxford game. So, the Tinker man Michael Carrick, obviously, 4 changes. Sol Bryn, surprise start at the expense of the illness to Senny Dieng. Borges, Barlassa and Howson come in. Obviously, Dieng, Morris, Hackney and Dijksteel made way. And I'll come to you, Simon. Were you happy with that starting lineup, or were you a little bit concerned?
I think, based on the news we'd heard in the week, there wasn't many surprises other than Sol Bryn starting. I fully expected Burog to start over Mcgree because we just know it happens after international breaks, and he played well before. So that one, me. I think the midfield picked itself, unfortunately, with Morris and Hackney injured. Borges was always going to come back in if fit because he's the best left back we have. So yeah, it was really the keeper one that took us all a bit of surprise, but actually I think, we've all queried Dieng over the last couple of months, although he had a great game against QPR. So not overly disappointed to see him given a start. In fact, as a local lad, actually delighted to see him given a start, although a little bit apprehensive because it's a tough place to go with the 3 stands, etc. But yeah, on the whole, no big surprises and yeah, pretty positive about the team.
Yeah, I think Simon summed it up eloquently there. We all like to have a favourite player we want to see starting every week, namely Riley Mcgree. I think he's wonderful, but obviously we've got used to that situation now. He tends to miss the game before the international break and generally the one upon his return. So I was happy to see Burog come in actually because he played really well against Luton at home and got a couple of goals and he deserved another start really. And I thought he started the game strongly, probably more than any of the other players. Made a couple of foraging runs down that left and cemented a place in the game quite quickly. So he played well. So yeah, overall I was quite pleased. No surprise really. I think Sol Bryn does deserve a chance at some point. He's been knocking on the door for a while now, and it was a handy time really probably to bring him in against a team which didn't trouble us too much. Be interesting to see what happens in the next game now whether Bryn keeps his place because in my opinion he deserves to. I thought he was excellent.
Well, I was going to mention Sol Bryn a bit later on, but since you've both mentioned him, we'll talk about Sol now. When you've seen his name on the team sheet, you think, oh, this is a big game to come in away from home for your league debut. Really, really testing conditions for a goalkeeper, as you say, with the 3 stands. The wind was howling, the rain and was lashing down. Really difficult, slippy conditions for him to come into. But I thought he looked really confident and put in a real confident, assured display. 2 really big saves, really quality saves in the game. The one-on-one in particular, the first half.
Yeah.
He could have got sent off if he got these timings wrong. Really good save at an important time in the game. The save in the second half where he deflected the ball onto the crossbar, it was going into the top corner, was world class. To be fair,
yeah,
absolute world class. And you've said there, you've touched on it going into the next game against Blackburn. Senny Dieng, like you say, he's been a bit inconsistent, but better of late. Is there actually a decision to be made if Senny Dieng's available or not? Because people like to say, if you played well, he should keep the shirt, but he's only played 1 game. I would probably expect Senny Dieng, if he's fit, to come straight back in. But it is nice to have that choice where you've got a reserve keeper of what looks of decent quality. And like Simon said, with him being a local lad, I think it's one that the fans will get right behind.
You mentioned his saves. I think the thing that really stands out for me is his distribution is brilliant. I think I'm probably one of a few fans that occasionally get a little bit frustrated at how long Dieng takes to set up, and I appreciate we set up from the back, but that off the cuff throwing a quick ball out, or he kicked one long first half that Latte nearly got on the end of. So I think his distribution is brilliant, probably better than Dieng in the few games I've seen. I think the other thing, Steve, come back to his debut that gave me a little bit of confidence is he played brilliantly at Ellen Road, and there's not many more. I know it was a cup game, it wasn't a big league game, but there's not many more intimidating grounds to go to as an away player than Ellen Road. And I think he came through, he fluffed one at the end where he came and missed, I think. But aside from that, that was a really strong debut as well. So I think that gave me a little bit of confidence that he's obviously, good lad, a good player, good distribution. But I think with that in mind, I would stick with him. I think I would stick with him for the next game. I don't think we've got anything to lose by, giving him another chance.
You've got to remember as well, people keep going on like he's a young lad coming into the team. He's like 16-year-old Wayne Rooney between the sticks. He's 24-year-old. He's not a kid anymore. He's played a lot of games on loan in League One, League Two. When you go back in time to Jason Steele, for example, I remember him coming into the Middlesbrough side 2010-11. He's only 20-year-old. And he was playing week in, week out, 21-year-old for Middlesbrough. Solbrin, he's 24. So if not now, when? That's the way I would look at it. If he's good enough, when is he going to get his opportunity? If the club really are invested in his future and think he's going to be Middlesbrough's number one for a few years to come, then there is an argument, well, give him a go. It's the only way you're going to find out. But as you say, it's a big call because we're going for promotion, we're going for the Premier League. It's a big ask just to suddenly throw him in. But
I suppose he set a little bit of a precedent last year when Glover came in for him, didn't he? And he didn't throw Dieng straight back in. He sat on the bench, I think, if I remember.
That's a good point.
4 games. So, we don't know, coincidentally, was it his birthday yesterday? You mentioned Bandy misses a game. There's
that was a bit tongue in cheek. It was a bit of a coincidence, though, wasn't it? I mean, come on. Boss, can I have my birthday off, please? But I don't think you would ever do that. I don't think Carrick would allow that anyway. So
anyway, happy birthday, Senny. Bandy and Simon are both dropping you. I'll come to you, Graham, for the first half, because that was some first half. Middlesbrough started off well, done the ridiculous as they always do, ended up going a goal down, and then played some exhilarating football, come back to go in 3-1 up at half time. First half, please, Graham.
Sort of disagree when you said we started off well. I thought we were pretty laboured for about 10-15 minutes, but that's probably just down to getting used to the conditions. Swirling winds, 3 stands, awful pitch. It was like a farmer's field in certain areas of it, and there was only sort of Burog that was trying to sort of penetrate them. But once they scored, we sort of woke up and then realised that we can't be messing about here. We need points here, and then we just clicked into gear, and it was brilliant. After that, we swept them aside. Now, obviously, Dort was lively. It took us a while to get the ball out to him, but once we did, there was only one winner on that right hand side, and he tore that left back to shreds. And obviously, it took an assault to get us back in the game, because that was disgusting, by the way.
Yeah.
Albeit it was a nailed on penalty, but it was a nailed on red card as well for me. So I was a bit concerned when he was lying down for a while, because that would have been a typical Boro meme, wouldn't it? Losing our star player. But yeah, Latte took the penalty away beautifully, and then there was no looking back after that. Couldn't believe the quality of play in the final third. It was just scintillating and masterminded by the genius that is Zinedine Azaz. Yeah, we've said it for a while, Dicko, haven't we?
Yeah, the Championship Zidane.
He's got to be, bold statement, the best technically gifted player in the Championship by a mile. He could play off his left, he could play off his right. He sees a picture before he's even received the ball. I mean, some of the assists he's got this season are just sublime. Going back to the one against Sheffield United, there was nothing gained. It was going nowhere, that game. He got on the ball, saw Latte's run, perfect, straight onto his head, and he set up a couple of belters yesterday as well and scored a couple of fantastic goals. So credit to Azaz. He was the talisman yesterday and led us to a resounding victory. So a great first half and even better second.
Well, Finn Azaz 16 games for Middlesbrough now, 5 goals, 7 assists.
There you go. That
I mean,
tells it so. He's in double figures already for.
There can't be many better in the Championship than that, can there? They really can't. But it was. I thought it was really good the way Middlesbrough just took them apart late in that first half. They kept going, even when it was near half time, and we took the lead 2-1 up. We just kept going, and even got the third goal. You could see the belief coming through the team. The last few games have obviously helped that, but they just look a real, confident side. Middlesbrough now. You've got Latte Lath, 16 games, 7 goals. Conway, 12 games, 6 goals. Dokes played 11, 1 goal, 3 assists. Azaz, I've just said, 16 games, 5 goals, 7 assists. Mcgree, 10 games, 1 goal, 5 assists. We've got real quality in that front four. And I'm not even talking, I haven't even mentioned Burog yet, who I thought was very good yesterday as well.
Yeah, he was.
We've got real quality in them areas, and we can switch it around. And if it's not going right, you look to the bench and the players you can bring on to turn it around for you. I don't think there's many teams got that strength and depth. And that's why Middlesbrough now, going through the gears, can have a real assault now in the top 6. That fills me with confidence. And I thought it was a real good performance yesterday. They're a poor side. Let's get that right. As we're Luton, as we're QPR. So I'm not getting totally carried away yet, which I'll mention a little bit later on. However, you can only beat what's in front of you. And I thought Middlesbrough took them apart. We could have had more than 6 yesterday. It could have been 10. So it was a good display. Latte Lath looked sharp. He took his goals well. Stuck the penalty away. His hat-trick goal was absolutely superb. It was a difficult one to take in them conditions, coming over his shoulder.
I didn't think he was going to hit that.
Yeah,
that's confidence for you.
Spot on. That's exactly what I think.
Maybe I don't know, 8-9 games ago, he'd have slashed at that and he'd have put it into the cinema, because there was no stand at that end, was there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Second half, Simon, with 3-1 up. What were your thoughts going into the second half? Would Middlesbrough sit back and just look to counter, or were you expecting this Middlesbrough of the last few weeks to go after them?
I think based on the Norwich game not so long ago, you immediately go 3-1. Let's not throw it away, lads, because that would be typical Boro. But as you identified, that they weren't great, and I think the fact we came out second half, the Norwich game almost did his team talk for Carrick. I think let's not let this happen again. Let's go straight from the off. And we're probably at 4-1, which I think is a nice little kick up the backside for them all, because we definitely started showboating a little bit at 4-1. And I think we called it. I was watching the game with Bandy. They scored 4-2, and there was a little bit of a but then again,
we looked at each other and thought,
here we go.
No, not
here we go. Which you do as a Boro fan, don't you? Not many other clubs, a 3-1, 4-2 up and expect to possibly throw the game away. But we've been there before. But I think coming back to what you said, Dicko, the confidence is there. I think beginning of the season, the criticism of this Middlesbrough side is we don't kill off poor sides. And actually, in the last 3 games, we really have. I think there's a lot of discussion around the tinkering of Carrick, but actually, he's built a squad where those front 7 or 8 players now can come onto the pitch at any time. I want to be on the score sheet. I want to assist. Which again, I've got my I've got one of my favourite Boro shirts on. But that was the beauty of that team under Karanka. The defence stayed relatively solid, didn't have many changes, but retained the Nugents and the Rhodes of the world, and they were always on the toes, always ready to come on the pitch. And that's what I feel like we've got now in that front 7 or 8, where we will score goals. I know XG's banned on this show, but statistics pointed at the beginning of the season that we were doing everything right, bar sticking the ball in the back of the net. The style of football was working, the build-up play was working. We just weren't finishing it off through a number of different factors, but that's now clicked, which is wonderful to see.
You see, I've got a little slightly different take to that regarding the statistics. At the start of the season, I think it's easy for Michael Carrick now, when we're scoring 4 and 5 and 6, to come on the radio or TV after the game and say, I was absolutely confident I was going to click, because the statistics at the start of the season were showing, I'm not mentioning XG, but the statistics were showing that we're having X amount of shots on goal, off target, possession, and all the rest of it. And it was always going to click. I think there's been a tweak to the tactics and how we play. I think we're playing far quicker now through the thirds to the midfield. We're getting the ball. We realise that we've got a championship cheat code in Ben Doak. and we're getting the ball to Ben Doak at every opportunity. He's direct. He's getting to the byline. He's getting crosses in. Burog seems to be doing the same on the other side. We're getting definitely 100%. We're getting more bodies in the box now than we were at the start of the season. The midfielders are driving. You see now when crosses are coming in, Finn Azaz is getting in the box. Latte Lath obviously in the box. Burog's in the box. You know, Hackney's getting in the box when he was playing. We have changed tactics. We're doing things quicker with a little bit more quality. Now we've got the real talent to put the ball in the back of the net by the players we've got and the statistics we've seen. But I'm not buying the fact that it was always going to happen. They've had to have tactical tweaks in a change in the system and the style of play to be scoring them out of goals. They're suddenly scoring because go on, Simon.
Yeah, confident so, Dicko. I think the same Latte Lath with that chance you both mentioned it in the first 5 games of the season wouldn't have hit it first time with his left foot. I think he would have missed that or scuffed it, and that's confidence in the player. I think Azaz, I don't know the numbers. He had so many shots at the beginning of the season that hit the post, just went wide. Suddenly he can't miss from anywhere. So I think there's probably a balance of what you say, Dicko. Definitely we're playing a bit quicker and the Doak factor's amazing. But I do think a couple of players in particular, you know, Azaz and Latte being the 2 prime ones for me, don't seem to miss at the moment, and they couldn't at the beginning of the season. So yeah,
but he had Azaz on the left at the start of the season as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So I think that's been a big factor as well in a tactical tweak, like I'm mentioning, to move Azaz from the left where he hasn't quite got the pace to put him in the number 10 role, and you know he's actually now developed a relationship with Latte Lath on the pitch where Latte Lath knows when he's going to play the ball, what type of service he's going to get. And yes, Latte Lath's in confident mood now. Like you say, he's taking chances he might not have taken earlier in the season. However, I think Latte Lath's getting a better quality of service now, and he's getting more chances now than he was earlier on the season. If you remember earlier on the season, you'd get one good chance again, and you'd fluff it, and fans would say, Latte Lath, you know, he would have put that away last season. But if you look, now he's getting 3, 4, 5 chances a game, and that's why I think that's why he's getting more goals, basically.
I agree. I think Carrick's got to be given a lot of credit for actually tinkering in certain aspects of the season, because it took us a while to find that formula up front. I said on countless occasions, we're not clicking, the dynamic isn't right. We were probably playing too much in front of teams as opposed to behind. So we've now rectified that. The addition of Doak has made a massive difference. He, for me, has kick-started our season. That allows Azaz now to actually come to the fore and play in that 10. Because the wider Doak plays, the more space Azaz has got to operate in. And he's been absolutely brilliant. He's come into his own. Obviously, we know that left-hand side can be taken care of now when Riley's fit and playing. Burog can come in and be as equally as deputable. So we finally found the formula, and I think Carrick should be given a little bit more credit because he never panicked when shots weren't going in, when passes were going astray. We were still trying to do the right things. It's coincidental that we've played 3 relatively poor sides and everything's clicked. If we can play like we've played against QPR, Luton, Oxford, at Burnley, at Elland Road, then people are going to wake up and think, wow, what is going on here? What a Middlesbrough side this is. I'm confident in saying that this is a better team than the one we had with Chuba Akpom and Ramsey at the moment, because we just seem to have more options. There was quite a reliance on Akpom, and he was brilliant, by the way. 30 goals, that was superb. But we're sharing goals out now. We're going to have hopefully 3 or 4 players in double figures. That's 40, 50 goals. So that is putting us well on the way to a solid promotion push. Defensively, we don't really talk too much about the defence these days because we have a lot of the ball and we're creating chances and we're putting 4, 5 and 6 goals in, hopefully 7 against Blackburn. Tongue-in-cheek, by the way, but that's what everybody's saying. But we've got to realise Wednesday's a completely different game. Blackburn are solid, horrible team, generally do okay at the Riverside, so feet on the ground time. But yeah, we've dispatched of 3 relatively poor teams, and it's what I expected us to do, to be honest. I think we spoke last week about the predicted points haul from Oxford, Blackburn and Hull, and I wanted 9 points. So I'm a third of the way there in my belief of what we're capable of. So long may that continue.
Just going to bring Simon in here. You made a big statement there that you think this Middlesbrough side, starting 11, is better than the side of Chuba Akpom. Because I would still say the starting 11 of the Chuba Akpom side was stronger than it is now. I would argue that the squad's stronger now, but I'm not sure the starting 11 is. If you look at Zach Steffen, I think was a good goalkeeper for Middlesbrough, Ryan Giles, Ramsey, Cameron Archer, Chuba Akpom. I still think most of those would get in the side now. Do you agree with Graham's comment, Simon?
Me and Graham agree on most things, I have to say, Steve, but I'd probably go with you, Steve, on that one. I think there's a few positions that you could definitely toss a coin over, depending upon how confident they are in the moment. I think squad-wise, I was looking back, the Coventry game, the playoffs, and we were scratching around once we lost a few key players, and I think that's the beauty, going back to the rotation of the front 7 or 8. If Archer was injured, we were knackered. If Chuba was injured, we were struggling. So I personally, I think it'd be a great match. But going back to your comment, Greg, defensively, I've still got this slight concern when we talk about top 2 as against top 6. I still think
you've always had that concern, and I do agree.
I still think we give away soft goals. I think we give away 2 soft goals. I don't think Leonard and McNair, Smith and Giles on the game gave away that many soft goals, and I still think there's a bit of a soft centre to this team that still concerns me, that we're going to toss away points when we shouldn't do. But
just look at how solidly we played at West Brom, and we gave Sheffield United nothing. 2 solid teams, and we've proved that we can be combative and we can be switched on defensively. But on the flip side, we've also proved to us that we can have lapses in concentration. Yesterday's goal, for instance, was a joke. The first goal, switched off at the back, free header, ball comes in, didn't react, tap in. That's got to be eradicated quickly, because we will give chances up against most teams in this league. In any level of football, you're going to concede chances, but better teams are going to create a lot more. So yeah, I do see your point, but I'm not too worried about us defensively because of the possession stats and the amount of chances we create. Maybe we're going to be dubbed the new entertainers. The old Newcastle team.
Like XG, that word's banned on the show as well. So,
well, are you not entertained?
I've got to say, I do come down. I've wrote some notes down, and I agree with Simon what he's saying. I've got concerns defensively, and I haven't changed me position. I still think Middlesbrough will make the playoffs this year. I'm still not convinced we're going to be consistent enough to make the top 2 for the reasons Simon's just give. Defensively, I would love to be proven wrong very quickly over the next few weeks, because like Graham's just said, if we can go to Burnley, if we can go to Leeds, Millwall at home, them type of fixtures, if we can be solid and pick up points in them games, I will then be a believer that the top 2 is back on again, like Graham says, and we're going to find out very, very quickly. But I do have concerns. In the last 5 games, Middlesbrough have conceded 10 goals in the last 5 games. So yes, we've scored a lot of goals, but we've also conceded 10. And the 10 we've conceded aren't against great sides. Your Coventry's, Oxford, Queen's Park Rangers, Luton. So that still gives me a little cause of concern. I also still don't think we've got our best defence out. I think we could be stronger. I think we are missing Rav van den Berg. I know Edmondson's done brilliantly when he's come in the side, and Matt Clark does what Matt Clark does. But I think one of those needs to be playing with Rav van den Berg in the centre for a little bit more culture, a little bit more quality in there. And I've got the 2 Harrogate Hounds on, so I know which side you'll see it. But I do think Luke Ayling needs looked at. I do think Dijksteel is looking, a better fit with Ben Doak along the right-hand side. He's younger, he's quicker. I think he's better defensively than Luke Ayling. And I've just seen this season Luke Ayling sort of a lot more mistakes coming into his game defensively, getting caught out. Even yesterday on the first goal, Ayling loses his man at the back post. The ball goes in the back of the net. I do like Luke Ayling. He's a great quality. He's got, he's a leader. I like him around the side, and I like him, on the pitch at times as well. And there's games to play him and there's games not to play him. But I think moving forward, if we're going to tighten up, that back four needs to include Vandenberg and the back four needs to include Dijksteel. What's your thoughts on that, Simon?
I thought Ayling was brilliant last year. I think I definitely share your concerns that this year he's not quite hit the levels of last year yet for me. The flip side for me, and I like Dijksteel, I think what this team does lack is a bit of leadership and a bit of know-how and a bit of nous. And I think there's certain areas of the pitch where you can almost supplement a slightly more attacking fullback with. We just need a bit of in-game management on the pitch, somebody that's going to dish out the odd rollicking, somebody that's going to create that team spirit. And I think at the moment, while you're missing a Lenihan, you no longer got players like Mcgree, Howson was injured. I can see that having Ayling on the pitch was a big advantage for Carrick. I think when we're back to full strength, I think it becomes a bit more of a debate. Or, Morris becomes a bit more vocal. Edmondson's become a bit more of a leader, I think, in the last 6 games, which I like. So I think if we can develop some sort of in-house leadership, allows then your Ayling to maybe take the odd game rest to give Dijksteel a start. But yeah, I definitely share your slight concerns with it. I'm actually more concerned with the other side defensively. I think Borges and Clark are vulnerable to pace on the left-hand side. That definitely worries me against it. I'm already dreading Nonto running at them against Leeds away because I think they're going to be struggling that side of the pitch. But yeah, I see both sides, Dicko.
So just going to bring this one in for Graham, because Graham is a huge, huge fan of Riley Mcgree. We've both went on record as saying he's arguably the best footballer at the club. And I can't believe I'm going to ask this, Graham. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, I'm going to have to. A little bit of Barry off EastEnders there for you. Anyway, I'm going to have to ask it. Is Riley Mcgree a starter now ahead on the left-hand side? Or is Burog now a starter? Because Burog is coming to that side on the left-hand side and he's starting to look a bit of a player and a real threat. I think he's given us a threat with pace down the left, which balances Doak's pace down the right. And I think the last few games, he's come into his own with a couple of goals. He was playing on the left for Huddersfield and done well for them on the left-hand side. And at the start of the season, when we were playing pre-season games, he looked good. And I thought, he's going to be a really good player for Burog. Start of the season, he was disappointing. Carrick started to play him like as a number 10 and then tried him a couple of times up front. It didn't work and he looked way off. But since he's went back onto the left, I think he's had a real good couple of performances. Looks a real threat. So if when we're going into the next game against Blackburn, Graham, does Riley Mcgree come back in now, or do you think, actually, I'm leaving Burog alone?
I've always maintained that Riley Mcgree is the first name on the team sheet, and that's how it's staying. I'm not being disparaging towards Burog, because I'm a great admirer of players that come in and grasp their opportunity. There's no better sight, really, than seeing a player stamp his authority on a game and get a couple of goals as well. He's been brilliant as Burog. He's done really well. He did well at Ellen Road as well when he got that goal. So his contributions have been good. He'll expect to be on the bench, I'm sure. I just think Riley Mcgree's a pedigree player. He's a different level. He's an international player for one. And he would look at that and think, well, I really should be in the team if he wasn't. And he would be starting for me every single game. Him, Azaz, Doak. And at the moment, you can Perm Latte in there or Conway. Conway's contribution yesterday, again, brilliant. So he's Carrick again, give him credit. He's got players being competitive, fighting for places, and every one of them players probably warrants a start. But it's down to personal opinion. Football's always subjective, but for me, Mcgree, class. He got a grip of the game yesterday as soon as he come on. He's a quality player. Can't leave a player like that out of the team. Especially against stronger teams. You'd trust Riley Mcgree to carve something open against Leeds or Burnley as opposed to Burog, in my opinion.
Simon, does Is Bandy correct, or does Delano Bergzorg have an argument? He's looked a threat. He's scored a few goals. He actually scored at Leeds, to be fair, early on in the season in the League Cup.
Yeah.
Does Bergzorg have a shout to be a starter?
I think he definitely does. I think I liken it a bit to England, Dicko. I think the debate in the summer was we've got to get Phil Foden in our team, and we've also got Bellingham that plays the 10. I think there's definitely a danger with Azaz and Riley that we've got that. We've got two technically brilliant footballers, but actually what England missed in the summer, and I think Burog brings to the Middlesbrough team, is pace. Pace is a huge asset in the Championship, and for all of Riley's strengths, he isn't the quickest player on the pitch. So I think this is where we've got to trust the manager and look at the opposition and go, if pace is going to win this game, then Burog starts every time. It was interesting looking at Man City last night and Spurs, that the interview Ange afterwards about Maddison. Why did Maddison start? He'd been out on the limbs and he said, I needed a technically good footballer that would keep the ball. And I think Riley Mcgree would be that player in our football team. If we're playing against a really difficult opponent, I fully expect Riley to start against Burnley and Leeds away. Because I think we need footballers on the pitch that will get hold of the ball and not give it away. I think Blackburn at home is slightly different. I think we need to be in the ascendancy and go on the attack. So with that in mind, I think Burog might just get the nod, particularly as he's in confident reign. But it's definitely a difficult one. That's why Carrick's paid all the mega bucks, I guess. He's got to make these difficult decisions.
We'll put it down as it's a nice problem to have.
Definitely is a nice problem.
Yeah. Couple of stats from the Oxford game, got to mention, that come out after the game. Middlesbrough have not scored 4+ goals 3 times in a row since November 1947. That was a 5-0 win at Grimsby, 7-1 against Blackburn, and a 4-0 home win against Blackpool. I think the statisticians out there listening to this can check this, but we think, the Typical Boro podcast, it's the first ever 6-2 away league victory on record. And also, Middlesbrough are now top Championship goal scorers with 29 goals. So it was a good day for the stats yesterday. One final point on yesterday's game: the midfield. Dan Barlaser, Johnny Howson have come into the midfield. Obviously, we've got injuries to Morris and Hackney. Did they do well yesterday as a pairing, or did the opposition help the situation? Because I'll bring you guys in a second. My take was it was a type of game that suits Dan Barlaser. In the type, he got a lot of space, a lot of time on the ball, and I thought he'd done very, very well. Howson looked a little bit off it for me. His passing wasn't the best. He was getting caught out a little bit in the midfield at times. Looked a little bit like a 35-year-old midfielder at times yesterday. Is that a concern moving forward if we don't get Morris or Hackney back? Is that going to be a concern when we'll start to play the better sides in the division?
It is a concern. I mean, when I found out the news that Morris was injured for a number of weeks, which I suspect is probably more, but we don't really want to broadcast that too much. I was very worried because he, for me, has been pivotal to how we've played, and everything goes through him, through the centre of that park. He controls games. He controls the tempo of the game. He never gives the ball away. He can hit it long. He can pass it short. He's been brilliant. He is probably our best leader. And behind him, Simon mentioned earlier, Edmondson. So Morris is vital to the cause. He's been superb. But you'd always trust Howson to put in a good performance. But yesterday, I just thought he was windswept, literally. He's not played much. Horrible game to come into, really, in terms of conditions and get on the ball. Ball was bobbling everywhere. He just couldn't get in the game. I think he needed half-time. Probably had to sit down and had a chat, and he was great second half, took control. As did a lot of players. So I just think he was a little bit rusty. Nothing to read into too much with Howson. I think he'd be fine. Barlaser, you got it spot on, Dicko. It was a nice game for him to be involved in because he saw a lot of the ball. The whole team had a lot of the ball. A lot of things went through him. I just wonder whether he will get that level of time on the ball against someone like Blackburn, for instance, who are going to come and be horrible and get rattled in from the word go. Burnley again, Leeds. it's going to be tough for him, but he's got to step up. When he's on the ball and if he does find space, he picked out some nice passes yesterday, but he can't be too pedestrian in the forthcoming games. Otherwise, we will struggle and we'll get found out in midfield. I'm convinced of that. So he himself has got to up the tempo. But in terms of technical ability and being able to pass and find a red shirt or blue and white shirt nowadays, he's capable. But I do have my concerns, and I do like that dynamic of Morris and Hackney, which has basically helped us surge up the table. So it's vital that we get them two back playing together. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to get by. And by getting by, it means we've got to have a lot of the ball in the final third and start putting chances away to alleviate pressure behind.
Simon, Johnny Howson played on a heavy pitch yesterday in terrible conditions. We've now got another game coming up Wednesday night against Blackburn, followed by another early kick-off on the Saturday against Hull City, 12:30. Is Johnny Howson capable of playing those 3 games, or is it a chance maybe for a Law McCabe to come into the equation?
I think I raised it before yesterday's game actually with Bandy, but I think going back to the Riley Mcgree debate, centre midfield worries me a lot. I think you guys debated about who we should be targeting in January. I think the likelihood is it will be Howson's last year. I personally don't think Barlace is good enough if we want to be a promotion-winning team. So I think there's a bit of a concern about the centre of the pitch long-term for me anyway, particularly if people are sniffing around Hackney as well. So I think, in answer to your question, I think the fact he left him on for 90 minutes yesterday suggests he needs to get minutes in his leg. I did wonder whether he would take Howson off yesterday, but he knows the medics, he knows what he needs. So I think Howson will get himself through. But I yesterday would have been tempted to throw Riley in as one of the two in the second half with the game. There was so much possession on the ball. I think that's an option for us moving forward if either of those two do struggle. I think Riley could definitely play as one of the two central midfielders if we need him to. Hackney and Morris are the absolute first picks moving forward. I think there's no debate on that for me. But yeah, it's definitely a bit of a worry, Dicko, against the better side, particularly as you said. I think we need to be mindful of I think on this podcast, we need to pick our best team for the next game. I think that's absolutely right. But there's definitely a little bit of, we've got 2 very tough games coming up. I think if there is time to manage minutes in the next couple, then we should do.
Michael Carrick mentioned after the game about the games coming up, and he did say that he's going to have to use the squad over the next few games. So I do expect changes on Wednesday and then changes again on the Saturday. If you look at the fixtures coming up, Blackburn, they've won 1 and 5. Then you've got Hull on the Saturday 12:30 kick-off. They haven't won in the last 7 games. Big opportunity to push Middlesbrough up that table. Then you've got a block of tough games where you've got Burnley away, Leeds away, and Millwall at home. 3 tough games there. Then after that, you're back Plymouth away. They've won 1 and 7. And then you've got Boxing Day at home in front of a sellout Riverside. Sheffield Wednesday, who've won 2 in the last 7. So we've got sort of 2 real winnable games, 3 tough games, and then 2 real winnable games. The way I look at it is the Burnley, Leeds and the Millwall game. Any points we get out of them games could be bonus points almost. So it's a real opportunity. Can Middlesbrough really have an assault on that top 2? I think these games are going to shape our season. I really do. Because if we can keep the confidence going and keep the points coming and pick some points up against Burnley or Leeds and obviously Millwall, Graham might be right. We might have a chance of catching that top 2. Or am I in dreamland?
I think the Burnley and Leeds game, and for me, they're the 2 games that decide really whether we are genuine top 2 or we're just going to settle for top 6. I think I'm a bit like you. I see Leeds as a bit of a free hit. It's a tough place to go. I think we can get something at Burnley. Their fans aren't happy. They're not playing great football. They're not overly enamoured, I don't think, with some of the things Scott Parker's doing. But it's a tough place. But I think to go into those games on the back of 3 wins, we should go in full of confidence and, like we did at West Brom away in a way, like go in there with a bit more, let's not give anything easy type approach and, expect the unexpected with Boro is the other phrase I often use, but it's very true. We'll probably lose to Blackburn, lose to Hull, and beat Burnley and Leeds away and be on exactly the same points as we all predicted. But let's see.
I mean, could we get Hayden Hackney back maybe by then? That would be a big boost if we could. We don't know what his injury is. Rolled his ankle. Haven't said how long he's going to be out for. Michael Carrick did say that it's not quite as serious as Morris's injury. So if we could get Hackney back for that Leeds fixture, that would be a big boost, Graham, wouldn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. I do think Carrick always verges on the side of caution, so he probably won't. Even if he is potentially fit for Wednesday, I don't think he will play him. And he might get away with not playing him against Hull if we get a win against Blackburn, because confidence will be even higher. We'll be on a bit of a run, so he'll probably go with a similar team to the team which plays against Blackburn. So you probably have him absolutely in tip-top condition for that Burnley game, which is where we definitely will need him. So we'll probably just try and limp through at the moment with spare bodies and get him ready for the killer games, the big games, the games that we need to stamp our authority and prove to everybody that we are capable of being an automatic promotion side. Because I don't like the talk of playoffs. I never have done. I'm not particularly a fan of the whole system. I do think we are capable of getting that top two. It's on. Look at the table. It's on for us. And you just mentioned that run of games, Dicko. Barring Burnley and Leeds, I mean, you've got to play these teams, not just look at them on paper and think, there's a win, there's a draw. You've got to go and play these teams. But at the moment, we're doing that. We seem, I don't want to tempt fate, we seem to have arrested that typical Boro tag. We've had 3 games, QPR Luton. Yesterday was a potential banana skin. A couple of years ago, we might have lost that too and not being up for it. We've just got too much quality in the team. Carrick has littered that team with fewer footballers, technically gifted footballers, and hopefully that'll win the day for us. But going back to the previous concerns that you mentioned earlier, defensively, yes, we can be got at. We do concede cheap goals. If we can get through unscathed at Burnley and Leeds, I'd take 2 draws now, to be honest. That gives us a lovely platform hitting that new year with some perceived winnable games. So it's on for us. It really is. I do believe we are the most potent team in the league, probably followed by Leeds, to be honest. I don't like admitting that, but they look as strong as us in that final third. And then you've got a few teams who sort of win ugly, Burnley being one, Sheffield United being another. Wilder's he's like a puppy biting at your ankles. We can't shake him off. We can't get rid of him. So it's going to be interesting new year, but I think we'll be up there without a doubt, and I'm confident that our skill level will see us through into that top 2.
Just to add in there, Graham, and it comes back to your debate earlier about the last sort of side that made the playoffs. I just think it's a weak league this year. I think you guys have probably mentioned it a number of times. I think the standard, going back to Barlesa and Housen against Oxford, I think it's standard-wise one of the worst championships I've seen in terms of the quality of some of the sides. I don't know whether you guys agree. I don't think there's great standout teams. I don't think there is. The fact we're talking about, top 2 really with still not an amazing team, a good team. But I do think the actual quality through the league this year isn't great at all. We've seen some really poor football teams this year come to the Riverside. And just to add to that, one of my friends is an Oxford season ticket holder. He said we were stand out the best attacking side he's seen at the Kassam this season. That's
what gives me hope that we can go and do that to better teams. I'm surprised at Luton. They've come down and they're neither here nor there. They're talking about sacking Rob Edwards, so that's just crazy. But personally, I'd keep hold of him and go again with him. But that, yeah, it is a crazy league. There's not many teams that are going to run away with it. We keep mentioning Sunderland, waiting for their inevitable fall, but it's not happening. They're not losing games.
Isn't it not? They haven't won for the last 4 games.
But they haven't lost. They haven't lost. That's key. Key. They haven't lost.
It was only 3 weeks ago, Middlesbrough were 11 points adrift of Sunderland. It's now down to 5.
Yeah, no, we're catching them because I believe we're better than them. We just didn't turn up at the Stadium of Light. We gave them one chance and it won them the game. But we were a different Middlesbrough then. We still hadn't found that formula up front. Now everything is clicking. We will beat a lot of teams. And I said 5 or 6 podcasts back, once we click, we'll see a different Middlesbrough. And I now believe that we are seeing a different Middlesbrough, a better Middlesbrough, a strong Middlesbrough, a potent Middlesbrough, one which can beat teams comfortably. But it's whether or not we can beat the better teams comfortably. So it's feet on the ground time. 9 points from 3 poor sides. We've got 2 winnable games coming up. That should be another 6. I did say I wanted 9 points from Oxford, Blackburn and Hull. So again, I'm a third of the way there. So if we can get them other 6 pocketed, and then let's go into the big games and prove that we are heavyweight contenders for that top 2 position.
Middlesbrough Football Club's ambition every season should be top 2. And we've sort of come away from that in recent years, where now it's almost like you say, the talk is it's an achievement to make the playoffs. You can be brilliant all season, make the playoffs and get beat in the semi-finals and you're out. You've got to be a target in the top 2. And I agree with Simon, this is a poor division this year. And that's why I've been so bitterly disappointed with the start Middlesbrough made this season, because I expected this Middlesbrough squad to be doing exactly what they're doing now over the last 3 or 4 games. That's what I expected right from the get-go. And the fact that we didn't do that the first 6, 7 games was a real disappointment to me. But it's still there. We're 5 points off top. It's an opportunity to get automatic promotion. But the next few weeks, I agree with you lads. These games, I think, are going to shape our season. Are we going to be good enough for that top 2, or are we going to be good enough for the playoffs? I think it really is going to be that way. One side note coming up, with the games coming up, Ben Doak, he's on 4 yellow cards now, along with Edmondson and Hackney. So if they were to get booked, they'd cut off points the Leeds game. So if Edmondson, Hackney or Doak pick up another booking against Burnley or Hull,
Blackburn,
any of those 3 games, they would miss the Leeds game. So we need to keep that in mind. Let's hope Ben Doak keeps his mouth shut for the next couple of weeks.
I think that fits in with what we said earlier, though, Dicko, about the squad. I think that's the reason there is confidence this year, because yes, it will be a big loss to lose any of those players. But yesterday, I think we brought 5 subs on, and Isaiah Jones wasn't one of them. So, understandably, because he hasn't been great this season, but it's proving we have got players on the bench to come on, which I think, going back to the quality of the league, this run now all the way through till March, none of this international nonsense. This is where that squad will be tested, and I think that's where we're going to really, rise to the top, because we have got arguably 2 decent players in most positions on the pitch.
Right, I wasn't going to do this, guys, but I have factored in some time, so I am going to do it. Last week, we've done our first typical Boro Soccer 6, which was, it went down very well with listeners and stuff. And because I've got you 2 guys on, best mates, we're going to have the Harrogate Hounds against each other today. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Phil Spencer is still our champion with his team that he picked last week. So what we're going to do is, you are going to pick your side, and you're going to pick your side, Graham. And then what we're going to do is, we're going to put it out on X and on Blue Sky after the game, after this podcast. And whoever wins between you, your side will go up against Phil Spencer's to see who's going to be the champion moving forward. So, rules are, remember, whoever picks, you can't pick the same player. Same player can only be picked by yourself. And also, it's got to be players that you've watched in your lifetime. Like I said last week, Bandy can't have Brian Clough up front. Simon can't have Wilf Mannion in the floating role.
The reason I'm all
so it's got to be
look,
Right. Who's going to go first? I'm going to come to Graham. Heads or tails?
Heads.
Graham's going heads. It is heads. It is heads. Graham gets first pick. And remember, it's 1 goalkeeper, 2 defenders, 2 midfield players, and 1 striker. So that's what we're going to do. So it's Bandy versus Simon, the Harrogate Hounds, to see who plays Phil Spencer on X, to see who's going to be the current champion. Okay? So, Graham, I'll come to you first, Graham.
It's a big toss to win that, It's a big toss to win.
You always got to build from the back, and I've got first, fifth.
Bandy's always been a good tosser. Go on, Graham.
I'm done. I've been caught worse, to be fair. Shea Given.
Shea Given in goal.
He was faultless. What a loan spell he had.
He would be good at six-a-side as well, would Shea?
He just looked, he was brilliant. Amazing keeper for us.
Good start.
What I wrote down.
It's not bad, is it?
I wrote down a six-a-side team, thinking you might just have.
What? He's had a head start on me here. I need to write a few players down.
Always come prepared.
And I put Shea Given down as my goalkeeper, so I've been bumped straight away. This is when I know we're on the same wavelength. I think I'm going to go then because it's six-a-side, I'm going to go for Zach Steffen. I think you have to have a footballing goalkeeper. Given would have been my first choice because I think he's perfect for six-a-side, but I'm not.
Steffen would have been my choice if you'd have got Given.
First defender, Graham.
Captain fantastic. Sir Gareth.
Southgate.
Radar. No one's getting past him in five-a-side. He's got that interceptor-like presence. Tight on his man. Not going to let anybody roll him. Brilliant. Leader as well.
So I've gone for a
Class.
slightly different mindset in that I think on six-a-side, people need to be able to score from anywhere. I'm thinking these really small goals type pitches, obviously, not the massive pitch me and Graham play on a Wednesday evening. So I've gone for two defenders. I'm going to name one to begin with, who I think could score from anywhere. So I've gone with a slightly left-footed balance. I've gone for Christian Ziege as my left-footed defender.
Oh.
Brilliant.
Similar to my next defender.
By the way, I didn't say at the start, obviously I'm picking the winner out of you two for today. Just so you're wondering who wins, I'm picking the winner. So, and it's looking tough already, to be fair. Right? Graham?
Next defender will be French Frank.
And Quadru.
Super Quadru. Because he can not only defend, he can attack. And can you remember some of his long-range goals? He wouldn't have a problem scoring in six-a-side or anywhere else, to be fair.
Almost as good as Ziege, to be honest.
Good old Frank, he was class. Another top player. Get him in there.
Great. I've gone for a technically good right-footed defender. Again, thinking attacking. I've gone for Jeremy as my right-footed defender.
Oh.
They're giving me a real hardship here, boys. All these players are some of my favourites already. When I named my best ever Middlesbrough 11, Southgate was in it, Ziege was in it, and Jeremy was in it. So
give him the trophy now.
Now you got right. Where are we at now? Midfield. So we've got the two midfielders. Graham,
Fella, he's there. The most technically gifted footballer in the world. Get him in there. Imagine him in a six-a-side. Who's going to get the ball off him?
It's like having that 100 card in top trump.
Nobody.
No beating him, to be honest. So
it is. That's the top trump card.
So I'm going to match that up a little bit with his Brazilian companion. So I'm going to put Emerson in there.
My hero. This is a nightmare for me, this. Right, who are we at? Graham, second midfield player.
Right, I'm going to go for a bit of aggression, a bit of leadership, a bit of steel. I'm going Grant Ledbetter. I'd be a little bit wary if he could actually stay on the pitch, but you need some anger in a six-a-side, and he's the man.
I'm sticking with my total football approach, so I've gone for the magic man Paul Merson as my other midfielder. This is
two superb sides, I have to say. I think Phil Spencer might be in trouble, whoever wins, by the way. When he's watching this, I think Phil will be thinking, I might be in a spot of trouble here. Right. These are two big picks, so think carefully, because this could shape this could shape the trophy. Who's it? Graham's first striker pick. Who's it going to be?
It's got to be the Wolf, man.
Oh, he's gone for his hero?
I've gone for my hero. And my
Bernard
pal,
Bernard
my
Joseph
hairy
Slaven.
artist friend. It's got to be the Wolf, man. And there's
Bernard
plenty of
Joseph.
fences in six-a-side as well, so you could climb up them when he scores. Yeah, I've played with Bernie a million times, not at Boro, obviously, but even in five-a-sides and six-a-sides, the ball's in the box, it's in the net. He doesn't miss. And he's a greedy basket as well.
Well, he was the king of the Super Sixes, wasn't he? For Middlesbrough for many a year.
He was
Absolutely superb.
Can't not have Bernie in there.
I was remember Tony Mowbray saying about Bernie Slaven when he was at the club, he's the best player he's ever seen at five-a-side.
That's why he's in my team.
That was from Tony Mowbray, so high praise.
Yeah.
Come on, Simon.
Yeah, it's a big call.
Who's your striker?
Bernie's a great shout. I think he was definitely in my hit list. I just went for technically, I think you need to be technically brilliant striker to play up front. I've gone for Alan Boksic as my striker. I think he'd be brilliant in six-a-side. Hammer foot. Yeah, bit of aggression, as you said you need, but sticking a little bit with my total football philosophy, I've gone for Boksic.
Could you rely on him being fit?
Well, and have Ravanelli on the bench waiting. Right,
yeah. No, I'm joking. He was pure class. He was unbelievable. I was on the verge of the Duke, the Duker.
Yeah.
Ryan made a brilliant shout last week with putting the Duke up front, but yeah, he was the best at wriggling away from tight situations and putting him on in the top corner.
So many good.
Got to be the Wolf, man.
So many good strikers.
Great shout, Si.
My goodness, you've given me some choice here, boys. Right, let's have a look. Both brilliant sides. Very, very difficult choice this. But, and I'll give me reasons, I'm going to go with our guest, Simon. Reasons are, I think, the balance of Ziga and Jeremy, left and right.
Give it a kiss, Si. Give it a kiss.
The dynamics.
Well done,
I think Bandy won the goalkeeping situation.
I've got the skull today.
I thought Ziga and Jeremy balance each other superbly. Emerson and Merson, for me, just shade Juninho and Ledbetter. And the striking situation, can you really say Bernie Slaven was better than Boksic? It's a tough one, but at Super Sixes, Slaven was the king, so I had that as a draw. So it's been a close call, but in my opinion, Simon's side has just shaded it. But two brilliant sides.
I'm going,
so what we're going to do,
second pick as well. Bandy, hang your head in shame, to be honest. Yeah.
I think they're both brilliant sides, and there might be a lot of people watching and listening here. I might say Dicko's talking nonsense, but unfortunately, I'm the referee today. I'm going with Simon. That side's going to go on X, and it'll go against Phil Spencer's side for everybody to vote on, and then we'll move forward with the winner from that. They'll have the trophy until the next guest comes on, and the next guest will have the opportunity to pick that side. So we've started something now, haven't we? Yeah, we've started something now, so hopefully it'll catch on. So if you're coming on the Typical Boro podcast anytime in the future, be prepared. Right, boys, that is all we've got time for on this week's podcast. So I just want to thank you both for coming on. It's been a wonderful podcast to do, talking about Middlesbrough scoring goals, winning games, top two back on, and picking fantasy Boro Super Six sides. Can it get any better than that? So thanks very much for coming on.
Class.
Thanks, lads. Keep up the great work.
And remember, don't say Typical Boro. Watch it, listen to it, and we'll see you next week. Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.